A for fleeing Grandpa's party and calling the police over a creepy warning? I had not seen most of those people in years. I did not recognize several of them at all. A lady handed me a disposable cup with lemonade. A boy ran by holding a paper plate, steering it as if it were a steering wheel. There were folding chairs, tables with light-colored tablecloths held down with clips, a bucket with half-melted ice, and soft music coming from a speaker tossed next to a planter. On one table they had arranged trays with homemade appetizers, potato chips, peanuts, sausages for grilling, and some ham roll-ups that were already drying out. Everything had that look of a family gathering, half improvised, half showy, festive, yes, but also awkward. It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon, and for the first hour or so it was. I was standing by the snack table, feigning interest in some cheese and grape skewers. Daniel was beside me with a glass of white wine in his hand, wearing that closed-off expression he gets when he is being polite but already wants to leave. My mom, Catherine, was happily playing her role as hostess, hugging people, wiping away tears with a napkin, and secretly touching up her lipstick. My dad, William, was near the grill, complaining about the wind as if the weather had done something personal to him. My sister Amanda, as always, managed to never end up near me. Her husband was laughing at things nobody else found funny. It was my grandfather's house, but it did not feel like his house anymore. He had it built when his business started doing well. It was not a mansion or anything like that, but it was a large house, the kind that in a neighborhood in the suburbs outside Chicago makes people whisper about how well the owner did. It had a spacious backyard with a patio, a garage for several cars, and a covered deck that could fit half the family. Now everyone lived there. My mom, my dad, Amanda, and her husband. I guess they did not lack space. Daniel and I had arrived from New York the day before. I had been asking to come see him for years, and they always gave me the same excuses. That it was not a good time, that he was tired, that maybe next year until this spring. My mom told me on the phone, "If you really want to see him, come for his birthday." I clung to that. I thought maybe something had changed. I thought maybe they were letting me back in. The party was well underway when they finally brought my grandfather out to the backyard in a wheelchair. Everyone clapped as if he had made a triumphant entrance. I stood perfectly still. He looked good, too good. His hair was combed a little too carefully. His sweater did not have a single wrinkle, and his face seemed dull. It was not a sick face. It was a distant face, as if he were listening to something nobody else could hear. I raised my hand to wave at him. He did not respond. I told myself it was his age, that maybe he just did not react the same way anymore. My mom came over and whispered, "He hardly speaks now. It is very hard for him." I nodded as if I understood. Then she raised her glass and began the toast, her voice trembling just enough to make everything revolve around her. 90 years of wisdom, hard work, and love for this family, she said. All of this exists because of him. Several people put on a tender face. A woman behind me murmured, "How beautiful." Daniel did not clap. I turned to look at him. He was staring intently at my grandfather, or the man in the chair, rather, as if he were memorizing his face. "What is wrong?" I asked him quietly. He did not answer. He kept staring. "Daniel, nothing." And then he leaned toward me. "Grab your purse. We are leaving. Do not make a face. Walk normally." I even let out a laugh out of pure bewilderment. "What? Do not ask questions here. Go upstairs and get your purse." I looked at him expecting a smirk, a sign that it was a joke. He did not smile. He did not even stop looking straight ahead. "Daniel, we just got here." Then he finally turned slowly and looked right at me. There is something very wrong here. It was not what he said, it was how he said it, so calm that it scared me, as if it was not a suspicion but a fact. My hands went cold. I looked back at my grandfather. He was not moving. His hands were on the armrests, still positioned, almost decorative. "Are you serious?" I asked him. He was already walking toward the house. I followed him. We went up to the bedroom where I had left my evening bag. My fingers got caught on the zipper. I felt my heart in my throat. I could not stop thinking. If he is wrong, I am going to look ridiculous. If he is right, I do not even know where I stand. We left through the front door. Nobody stopped us. Nobody looked up. The party was too busy with itself. In the car, Daniel opened the door for me like it was nothing, got in, started the engine, and gripped the steering wheel tightly. Then he said, "That is not your grandfather." I used to think that maybe I was imagining it all. The difference, the treatment, the way things in my house were always smoother for Amanda than for me. For years I told myself I was just sensitive, that I exaggerated, that I always found a way to feel out of place. I told myself that until the day Amanda turned 18 and everyone at home acted as if she were leaving forever. She was standing in the entryway with a suitcase and a full scholarship for college. My mom was crying as if they were putting her on a ship in the middle of a storm. "You do not have to go," she kept repeating. "We will figure something out. Stay a little longer." 2 years earlier, when I turned 18, my dad gave me a suitcase and a nod. "You are an adult now, it is time to build your own life." That was it. No hugs, no tears, no help packing. I do not want to sound bitter. I really do not. I left, studied, worked, and moved forward. But some things stick with you. When one daughter is walked to the door as if she were a guest, and the other is begged not to leave, you do not get that out of your system so easily. The funny thing is, I did not even have a choice about college. I knew I had to leave, not because anyone pushed me, but because I needed a reason to get out of that house. My parents did not pitch in a single dime. I do not even think they ever really asked what I was studying. The one who helped me was my grandfather. Always in silence, always on the sidelines. Every few months he would send me money, just enough to get by. Rent, groceries, some emergency, never any lectures, never any awkward questions, sometimes just an envelope and a short note with that shaky handwriting of his. "I hope this helps. I am proud of you." He had no obligation to do it, but he did. I remember him from before I even had full memories. Before I could speak properly, I already had my grandfather. He would carry me, tell me stories in a low voice, and teach me things with a patience nobody else had for me. He made wooden toys. He taught me how to sand a piece of wood when I was still wearing Velcro sneakers. He smelled of wood and mint tea. As a child, I felt he was mine and I was his. Maybe because, at times, he gave me the place I could not find in my own home. Then life got in the way. My degree turned into a job. The job turned into Daniel, and almost without realizing it, I was already living in New York. It was not an escape, it was not drama, it was employment, opportunity, timing, and if I am being honest, a bit of relief. The distance made everything easier. Easier not to notice that my parents rarely called. Easier to pretend the silence was just about time zones. Easier not to feel that strange emptiness my conversations with Amanda always left me with. We stayed in touch, though, more or less. Emails on important dates, an occasional call, a video at Christmas. The last real conversation I had with my grandfather was on a video call 3 years ago. He looked older, yes, but he was still him. He asked about my work. I asked about his potted plants. He made a joke about some squirrels that were stealing his tomatoes. After that, everything faded out. Every time I asked to speak with him, my mom would come up with something. That he was asleep, that he was not feeling well, that he had a rough night, that he would call me later, and then not even that. He stopped answering, and I explained it away however I could. People age, they get tired, they withdraw. Maybe it was hard for him to talk. Maybe I was just creating drama again. Up until that party. Until Daniel told me, "Grab your purse." And suddenly nothing felt imaginary. We sat in the car as if we had just left a place we were not supposed to be. Daniel kept his hands on the steering wheel. I had my seatbelt halfway on, as if finishing buckling it would make this real. "What do you mean he is not him?" Daniel did not look at me at first. "I mean exactly that. He is not your grandfather." "What are you talking about?" "I am serious." He was calm but firm. "That man in the chair is not him." I looked at him as if he had told me the cake was poisoned. "What do you think? That someone put a mask on him?" "No, but his ears are not the same, neither is his jaw, and his hands even less." I stared at him. His ears. Now he did turn to look at me. "You are not understanding me. I remember faces, all the details. They do not escape me. And yes, I recognize your uncle from the old pictures you showed me years ago. I can draw someone I saw once 15 years ago. I do not forget a face. Much less a pair of ears. That man is not your grandfather." And right then my stomach dropped. I wanted to laugh, not out of amusement but out of pure fear, out of pure chaos. I covered my mouth with my hand. My mind tried to find another explanation. Any explanation. Then who is it? Daniel looked back at the house. Your uncle, Philip. What? Did you not tell me once that when he was young, he looked exactly like your grandfather? Yes, he did. I had said that, but I had not seen him in years, and besides, he was not even at the party. Or so I thought. He had not said hello, he had not come over, he had not spoken a word to me, and then it clicked. Oh my God. He has a beard, glasses, some makeup, your grandfather's clothes, the chair, Daniel said. It is not an over-the-top disguise, which is exactly why it works. From a distance, surrounded by people, he passes. Daniel, are you sure? He did not hesitate. Yes. I leaned against the window. The glass was warm. I could feel my pulse throughout my whole body. I did not want to believe him. I wanted to go back 5 minutes when this was still just a weird party. And I was the daughter who had come from far away, the awkward one, the one who always arrives late to her own family. That reality felt much safer. So where is my grandfather? Daniel said nothing. Where is he? The question pierced right through me, as if waking me up with a jolt. Everything began to fall into place in a horrifying way. The toasts, my mom's insistence that I should not get too close, the way they had him sitting there like a prop, the fact that he did not speak, the fact that I had not heard his voice in 3 years. I have not spoken to him in 3 years, I said out loud. Daniel turned around. What? 3 years. The last time was on a video call. After that, they always told me he was asleep, tired, sick. I thought I was overreacting, but now I do not know. Daniel took a deep breath. I think you need to call someone. I looked at him. The police. He nodded once. If I am wrong, I am wrong. But I am not wrong. I did not move. I imagined my mom's face when we left. That tight little smile, the slight nod, as if I were dropping in to visit a life where I was no longer wanted. I am going to destroy everything, I whispered. Daniel finally looked at me with a gentleness that broke me into pieces. Sophia, you did not do this. I took out my cell phone. It felt heavy as if it had stones inside. And I called. The patrol car arrived faster than I expected. 2 officers and a woman in plain clothes got out. They spoke to us next to the car. I explained what I could. I tried to sound clear, sane, and reasonable, which in that moment was almost impossible. I know it sounds weird, but I think they are passing someone else off as my grandfather, I said. I do not know where he is, and I think something is wrong. They asked me calm questions, the kind that make you uncomfortable because they seem simple, but you feel like if you answer wrong, everything falls apart. Then they walked toward the house like someone knocking for any ordinary matter. I stayed in the car watching. The party did not stop immediately. Nobody screamed, nobody ran out. It was worse. Everything became weird, muted. People kept holding plates and glasses, but no one was comfortable anymore. The officers started separating people. I saw one of the women talking to my mom. Her face changed instantly. She stiffened, started moving her mouth very quickly, shook her head, and at times tried to block their path with that host's authority, thinking she was still in charge. My dad stayed a few steps back, looking at the ground. Then they spoke to the man in the chair. He said nothing. Afterward, they asked him for ID. My mom went into the house and came out with a folder. It did not help much. The officers knelt in front of the man again. They spoke to him in a low voice. He ended up looking up and saying something. Just a few words. Then he nodded. One of the officers came back to our car. Can you stay nearby? We are going to need to speak with you later. Is it him? I asked. Is it my grandfather? He did not answer that. We will be in touch. And he left. I was left feeling as though the seconds were crashing down on me. That same night, much later, they asked us for another statement. We also learned they had found contradictions in what my family said, and that my Uncle Philip ended up admitting part of the charade. That was when I realized this was not going to be resolved with just any explanation. That night my mom called me. I answered, and she did not even let me speak. How could you, she yelled, calling the police on your own family? I could not tell if she was crying, furious, or both. What did you do? I asked her. Where is my grandfather? You do not understand anything. You were not here. You did not see how it was. We did what we had to do for him. For everyone. What did you do? You have no right to ask now. Where is my grandfather? She stayed quiet for a second. Then she hung up. When they knocked on the hotel door the next morning, I thought I was going to pass out. We had stayed at a nearby hotel because from the beginning, Daniel did not want to sleep at the family house. Not because he suspected anything like this, but because he never felt comfortable there. That morning, I thanked him for insisting. They did not knock to arrest us or interrogate us again. They came to tell me that my grandfather was gone. They did not say it bluntly. They explained it with that professional tone that sounds worse because it does not break. One of the officers did almost all the talking. The woman with him kept her eyes glued on me, as if just in case I decided to make a run for it. The information we gathered last night confirms that Mr. Harold passed away in March of 2022, he said. The family claims it was from natural causes. We also know that his death was not openly reported to all relatives, and that afterward, there were actions taken to conceal the situation. The investigation remains open to review everything else. I sat down, my legs could not hold me anymore. 3 years. 3 years. And me sending messages and asking if I could talk to him, and believing that maybe he was tired or confused, or upset with me for leaving. No, he was gone and nobody told me. I do not really remember what I answered. I think I asked if he had suffered. They told me they were still reviewing everything. I think I asked if the man at the party was my Uncle Philip. They told me yes. I wanted to scream, hit something, crawl under the bed and never come out. Instead I said, "Thank you," like a polite fool. As always. A few days later, the matter started leaking out of the house. First, it was random comments on social media, rumors, and a post on a local gossip page. Then someone uploaded a shaky video, recorded on a cell phone, showing my mom giving a toast, wiping her eyes, and that man in the wheelchair pretending to listen. People did what they always do. First, they mocked it, then they started coming up with theories, then they tore us all apart. I stopped reading after a while. In the very same thread, they called me an accomplice, ungrateful, dramatic, a gold digger. People always have an opinion. They do not need to know the facts to do so. Then came the call from the lawyer. Not my mom's, not the family's, but my grandfather's lawyer. "Sophia, I have been trying to reach you for a long time." I almost hung up on him. "Your grandfather left you as the primary heir. The house, the business, and everything he had legally set aside for you." I stared at the uneven floorboard in the hotel room, as if it were suddenly incredibly important. "This was not a secret," he told me carefully. "Your mother and sister have known for years. We tried to locate you earlier, but they always answered. They said you were away, that they would let you know later, that it was not a good time. And then everything fell into place in the dirtiest way possible. The lies, the silence, the party, my uncle pretending to be my grandfather. They had not hidden his death just out of shame or fear of a scandal. They had hidden it so that I would not claim what he left me. As long as I remained in the dark, they could keep living in his house, moving money from the business, using his name and pretending I did not exist. I called my mom. I was not entirely sure why. For answers, I guess. Or maybe I just wanted to hear her say something that finally sounded like the truth. She answered on the second ring. "Now what do you want? Since when did you know about the inheritance?" She let out a dry laugh. "So the lawyer finally called you. Since when? You were always good at coming back to take what you did not earn." My throat closed up. "I asked about him every single year. You left," she told me. "You left us here with everything. With the sickness, with the expenses, with the house, with everything. You do not know what it was like. And that is why you buried him without telling me? We were taking care of him. We were hiding him. We were protecting him and this family." I could not help but laugh. Came out broken, bitter. "No, you were looting him." She hung up on me. The following weeks were heavy. Statements, interviews, reviewing paperwork, bank movements, certificates. The process moved slowly at first and then it started picking up momentum. Amanda hardly showed up at the beginning. She just sent a couple of dry messages, as if she truly did not know what to say. Then she stopped writing. Later I found out she also gave a statement, but she was very careful not to completely sever ties with my mom. Philip, on the other hand, ended up cooperating more once he saw the scale of the problem. He did not do it out of pure remorse. He did it out of fear. Even so, that crack helped bring everything to light. In the end, they confirmed that my grandfather had indeed passed from natural causes. He fell asleep and never woke up. There was no violence, no foul play, just the peaceful end of a very old man. I cried then because I could finally mourn him without any doubts. But there was still the rest of it. The cover-up, the impersonation, the use of his identity, the money. In the months that followed, the investigation nailed everything down. There was a review of documents, management of accounts, use of the property, and the concealment of his death. The authorities determined that there were indeed serious omissions, manipulation of information, and misuse of resources tied to his name after his passing. My uncle Philip was also implicated for partaking in the charade, though cooperating helped him. There was no jail time for anyone. There was a legal process, sanctions, and strict measures. Supervision, restrictions, an order to vacate the property, prohibitions from touching my grandfather's accounts and assets. Serious consequences, not as spectacular as one imagines when deeply hurt, but clear enough that they could no longer keep living off the lie. The house, the land, and the business were transferred to my name, just as my grandfather had left them. It was not an absurd fortune, but it was a lot, enough to understand why they kept up the act for so long. I did not kick them out, the law removed them. They left without saying goodbye, without looking at me, without a single apology. My mom left a note on the kitchen counter. It read, "You were always good at taking from others what you did not earn." I tore it up and threw it away. The first night I stayed alone in the house, before heading back to New York to sort everything out calmly, I sat in my grandfather's chair. I opened a bottle of wine and put my feet up on the coffee table. The house was silent. It still smelled of furniture polish and old wood. I did not feel triumphant, I did not feel avenged, not even angry. I felt tired, and for the first time in a very long time I did not feel like a stranger in that place. I have not spoken to my parents again, nor to Amanda. Not a message, not a call. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. Other times I think there was still so much left for me to say. But there is something I have finally understood. I did not ruin my family. I was just the first one to stop covering up their lie. If this story has left me with anything, it is understanding that families have boundaries too, and that not all questions are a sign of disrespect. Sometimes we are taught that staying quiet is caring, that enduring is loving, that not inconveniencing our loved ones is a form of loyalty. But it is not always like that. There are questions that break things out of pride, out of distrust, or out of a desire to hurt, and those do cause pain. But there are also necessary, clean, brave questions, the kind you ask so you do not have to keep living a lie. What is really going on? Why are you hiding this from me? Is what you call love actually hurting me? I took a long time to dare to ask them, and that is why today I would sincerely like to hug every person who followed my story, who listened without judging me, and who understood the weight of discovering that sometimes the pain does not come from the outside, but from the very same table where you sat your whole life. Thank you for staying, for keeping me company, and for looking at something so difficult alongside me. And if my story can leave you with something for your own life, I hope it is this: loving your family does not mean giving up the truth, nor accepting silences that hurt, nor justifying the unjustifiable just because it comes from someone close to you. Sometimes the most honest act of self-love starts with an uncomfortable, but necessary question. Comment. Hey everyone, this story really stayed with me. I believe protecting our own peace sometimes requires us to ask difficult questions. Setting healthy boundaries with family is not selfish. It's an important form of self-respect. We all deserve relationships where truth is valued over comfortable silence. Choosing to face reality, even when it's painful, is often the first step toward real healing. I encourage you to listen to your intuition when something feels off in your life. Taking responsibility for your emotional well-being shows strength and maturity. Remember that genuine love doesn't mean accepting everything without question. You have every right to seek clarity and choose peace for yourself. Let's support one another in building lives rooted in honesty and self-worth. If you liked it, Don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.